Good morning everyone. Welcome to the Civilspedia's Daily Current Affairs Analysis brought to you by Shankar IAS Academy, and today's date is 19th of July 2025. In this video, we are going to discuss about the following topics, and the topics taken for the discussion are the Public Accounts Committee, endangered species of Indian rivers and scrub typhus, a bacterial infection, succession laws and the recent Supreme Court rulings, and green energy sector and the China's progress, question hour, a need of the hour, and the circular polarization and its recent discovery by the Indian Institute of Space Science and Technology. This article was taken for discussion because of the recent Public Accounts Committee review over the functioning of Aadhaar and the UIDAI because of the high failure rate among the biometric verification, and which led to the exclusion of beneficiaries of various programs. And this Public Accounts Committee was presently chaired by Mr. K.C. Venugopal, who is the opposition leader of Congress Party, and reviewed the functioning of which he raised the question, or he raised the concern over the reviewing of functioning of UIDAI and the Aadhaar mechanism. And the key concerns raised during this Public Accounts Committee meeting are the high biometric verification failure under Aadhaar program, and which led to the exclusion of beneficiaries from various welfare schemes, and they may not get the benefit on time. And this Public Accounts Committee recent review got flagged by the CAG's report, or supported by this Comptroller and Auditor General report of 2021. And with respect to the parliamentary committees, the parliamentary committee is a small group of committee which is formed by the members of parliament, by the parliament, created for the ensurement of or scrutinizing the details of complex issues placed before the parliament, because they cannot handle the high amount of data and other nooks and corners, nuances of the bill or the proposed program, and which also led to high time. So they may of the time constraints, so they cannot able to scrutinize every bill. So they form the parliamentary committees to specialize or to make the bill more easier to pass in the parliament, and they are very essential for the looking of the bill or the legislative oversight over the passage of the bill. And they had to pin the accountability on certain members of the parliament or the ministries, and they also have the financial control over the bill. And with respect to the parliamentary committees, they are broadly classified into two types, and the first type is the standing committee, which is a permanent in nature. They are formulated or established in a year or periodically. And the second type is the ad hoc committee, which is temporary, and it is formulated only on the basis of any issues or any urgent matter of significance. And with respect to the Public Accounts Committee features and details, this is a financial standing committee. Public Accounts Committee is a type of financial standing committee and is a permanent committee established in the year 1921, which is got introduced because of the Government of India Act of 1919. And the current chairperson of this Public Accounts Committee is K.C. Venugopal of Congress, which is an opposition party. And the composition of this Public Accounts Committee consists of 22 members, and 15 from the Lok Sabha and 7 from the Rajya Sabha. And the appointment of the chairperson of this Public Account Committee was done by the Lok Sabha Speaker from among the members of the Parliament. And the key function of this Public Accounts Committee is to examine the audit reports provided by the CAG before the Parliament, and the CAG has to submit periodically 3 reports before the Parliament, and namely the audit report on appropriation account, audit report on finance account, and audit report on public undertakings. And these these 3 reports has to be scrutinized by the Public Accounts Committee for any misappropriation or any other details in this report. And the Public Accounts Committee has to focus especially on the public expenditure spending. And with respect to the power of this public account committee, it can have the wide power, that is, it can also call for a minister or the department official to provide a detailed account of the spending on the bill. And also this public account committee also has some limitation, which are it does not question the policy, which is it cannot question the nature of the policy or the proposed bill, because it look into only the financial matters and the appropriation of the funds, and it has to focus only on the implementation and the expenditure spent on the certain project or the program. And the other major limitation is that it does scrutinize the bill, but on a post-mortem manner, that is it review the bill, or it has to review or scrutinize only the report provided by the CAG, which is also already passaged or proposed. And reports provided by this public account committee is non-binding in nature on ministries, and it carries only the persuasive value among the members of the parliament. And there are some other committees in the parliament. They are first is the estimate committee, which suggests how the public money can be better utilized, proposed project or proposed bill or the program. And the unique fact of this estimate committee is that it is the largest committee, consists of 30 Lok Sabha members. And the second committee is the committee on public undertaking, which is also we have discussed that this committee examines the CAG report on public sector undertakings, and this committee is formed in the year of 1964. And the third committee is the very large committee. That is large committee in terms of differentiation. This is departmentally related standing committees. There are 24 committees with respect to various departments covering all ministries, and it is introduced in the year 1993. And the fourth is the business advisory committee. It manages or allocates time for the legislative business among the parliament, and it is chaired by the Speaker of the Lok Sabha. And the fifth committee is the rules committee, which is which has to scrutinize or look into the matters with related to rules and regulations of parliamentary procedures, and it is also chaired by the Speaker of Lok Sabha. And these two committees are important because they are in a day-to-day activities of the parliament. So these two committees are under the chairmanship of the Speaker. And the sixth committee we are going to discuss is the privilege committee, which examines the breach of privileges of MPs in the parliament. And the unique fact of this privilege committee is that the chairman of this committee will be from the ruling party. And the last committee is the ethics committee, which deals with the code of conduct of the MPs with respect to the ethical code of conduct on the parliament. And this was introduced into the Lok Sabha in the year of 2000. Moving to the prelims practice question, which of the following statement regarding Public Accounts Committee PAC is or correct? It examines the annual financial accounts of public undertakings, which is a vague statement, and we have to consider it afterwards. And the second statement, it consists of members from both Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, which is correct. 15 from Lok Sabha and 7 from Rajya Sabha. And the third statement, the chairperson of the PAC is always from the ruling party, which is incorrect, because the chairperson of Public Accounts Committee is from the opposition party. Before 1967, it was a convention that the Public Accounts Committee chairperson was of ruling party, but since 1967, the Public Accounts Committee has the convention change, because the Public Accounts Committee was chaired by the principal opposition party. And with respect to the first statement, it is incorrect, because the annual financial accounts of public sector undertakings are not considered by the Public Accounts Committee directly, because it has to look into the report provided by the CAG. Afterwards, they have to scrutinize the report. So the first statement is incorrect, and by eliminating the first statement, we can easily arrive at the answer option B. And in this article, we are going to discuss about the 4 different Indian river species which was endangered in nature, taken from the Hindu article. And the first species we are going to discuss is the red-crowned roof turtle, and the conservation status of this red-crowned roof turtle is critically endangered with respect to the IUCN Red List and the Appendix 2 of the CITES list. And the distribution of this red-crowned roof turtle is endemic to northern India, mainly found in the Ganga and its tributary rivers. And the distribution of this species with respect to states include Uttar Pradesh, Madhya Pradesh, West Bengal and Bihar. And the habitat of this red-crowned roof turtle is of freshwater in nature, and this freshwater includes the deep pools and the sandy banks for basking and nesting. And other distinguishing features of this red-crowned roof turtle is that the male only have the bright red stripes on crown, especially during the breeding season, and the female is considered larger than the male one and has the more drab in color, that is very dull or very low color in nature. And the threats for this species is primarily is of river pollution, as we defaultly know that river pollution causes major threat to this river species, and along with the sand mining, damming of rivers, which leads to the fragmentation of habitats, and illegal poaching for this meat and pet trade among various countries, and the nest predation by various predators. And the conservation efforts taken with respect to conservation of this species is that there is a captive breeding at the National Chambal Sanctuary situated in Uttar Pradesh, Madhya Pradesh and Rajasthan, and it was highly protected under the Schedule 1 of the Wildlife Protection Act of 1972. And moving to the next species, the next species we are going to discuss is the gharial, which is also a freshwater crocodile. And the conservation status of this species gharial is that it is categorized as critically endangered in the IUCN Red List and Appendix 1 of the CITES list, and we are providing under highest protection in India, that is Schedule 1 of the Wildlife Protection Act of 1972. With respect to the habitat of this gharial, it is also a freshwater crocodile, and it was also as the primary habitat, which has the river system with fast flowing water and deep gorges into that, and it can also seen along the sandy banks of this freshwater river. And it can be found along the Indian river systems like Chambal, Ganga, Yamuna, Son and Mahanadi rivers. And the geographical range of this gharial species is, the population of this gharial species mainly reside in India, and some small population has been found in the Rapti and Narayani rivers of Nepal. And we can easily distinguish gharial from other crocodiles because they have the unique physical trait of long sharp snouts with interlocking teeth, which is a adaptation of this gharial species for catching its primary prey called fish. And other distinguishing physical trait of this species is that the male only has the bulbous gora, that is swelling in this area called nasal swelling for mating calls. And the as I said earlier, the primary diet of this gharial species is of fish, that is piscivorous. And the key threats for this gharial species is that the river pollution and sand mining, in as we discussed, default, and dam fragmentation, which led to the habitat fragmentation, and accidental drowning of in fishing nets, as they got tangled into the fisherman's net and got drowned by the fisherman's net. And the other key threat for this declining trend of this gharial species population is the declining trend of fish population. We can also quote as the overfishing is also a key threat to this declining population of this gharial species. And the main conservation efforts taken is that similar to that of the red-roofed turtle, National Chambal Sanctuary, they have the conservation effort for captive breeding along the Uttar Pradesh, Madhya Pradesh and Rajasthan region. And there is a separate project for the conservation of this gharial species, that is Gharial Rehabilitation Project, launched in the year 1975, and they are in the captive breeding, and they once they got matured, they will be released into the river system. And moving to the next species, that is the Ganges river dolphin, and the conservation status with respect to IISTN is it is categorized as endangered. Please note that it is endangered, not critically endangered. And with respect to sites, it is Appendix 1, and as usual, we given the highest protection in India because it is protected under the Schedule 1 of Wildlife Protection Act of 1972. The habitat of this Ganges river dolphin is also freshwater in nature, and we are going to discuss as we are about to discuss another species that is also a freshwater species. And all the four species as we discussed in this video is of freshwater in nature. It was found along the river systems of Ganga, Brahmaputra, Meghna, Karnapuli, Sangu river system, and it can be found between the transboundary in nature along India, Nepal and Bangladesh. And the distribution of this species can be found in the Indian states of Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, Assam, West Bengal along the Ganga, Chambal, Brahmaputra, Gagra and Son river systems. And the distinguishing feature or the key physical traits of this Ganges river dolphin is that it is completely blind. It uses only the echolocation for navigation as well as predation. And this is also considered to be one of the key indicator species of healthy river system, as when the river system got polluted, this river dolphin, Ganges river dolphin population got also dwindled. And it is also the national aquatic animal of India since 2009, and it is also called as Sisu or Sihu. And moving to the next species, it is Indus river dolphin, and the conservation status, it is also endangered under the IUCN Red List. Please note, it is also not critically endangered, it is endangered. And with respect to sites, it is Appendix 1. As usual, we are providing highest protection with respect to the Wildlife Protection Act of 1972. It is Schedule 1, and the habitat is also, as I said, it is also a freshwater river dolphin. It found only in the river systems of Indus in Pakistan, and very small population can be found only in the Bias river system of Punjab. And the distribution of this Indus river dolphin is found only in small stretch of river Bias, that is in Punjab, and the main population reside only in the Pakistan river system, that is Sindh and Punjab province. And the key distinguishing features of this species is it is also a nearly blind species, relies only on echolocation and predation, and it is considered to be one of the world's endangered cetacean species, and it is also considered to be one of the indicator of river health. Moving to the prelims practice question, consider the following statement about red crowned roof turtle. It is endemic to peninsular India, which is incorrect because it is endemic to northern India. So peninsular India is incorrect. So we can eliminate one from the option. And it is listed as critically endangered by the IUCN. It is correct because it is categorized as critically endangered by the IUCN, and it is protected under the Schedule 2 of the Wildlife Protection Act, which is incorrect because we have provided the highest conservation status for under the Wildlife Protection Act, which is Schedule 1. So we can easily eliminate option 3, statement 3. So we can easily arrive at the answer option B, 2 only. With this, we move to the next topic. In this section of video, we are going to discuss about the scrub typhus, a common type of bacterial infection which is considered to be the most common infectious cause for acute encephalitis syndrome. Let's get to know more about this acute encephalitis syndrome and scrub typhus in the further section. It is in news because a recent study of various multi-center institutions has discovered that the scrub typhus has become the most infectious cause of acute encephalitis syndrome in the southern parts of India, including Karnataka, Andhra Pradesh, and Tamil Nadu, which surpasses the prevalence of Japanese encephalitis syndrome, and it is also highlighting the epidemiological shift which requires more attention and the early detection and treatment of this acute encephalitis syndrome and the causative of this scrub typhus bacterial infection. And we are going to know about the acute encephalitis syndrome, and the definition of this syndrome is that it is the acute onset of fever and altered mental status like confusion, disorientation, and even coma, and it may also lead to the seizure of any person of any age group. And the key feature of this acute encephalitis syndrome is the high case of fatality may happen if it got untreated, and Japanese encephalitis, it also affects the children mostly. And the symptoms of this acute encephalitis syndrome is that fever, seizure, and altered consciousness. And what are all the causes of this acute encephalitis syndrome is that of different types, and the first cause is the virus in nature and or the viral infection caused due to Japanese encephalitis virus, which is the major causative for the occurrence of this acute encephalitis syndrome. And the other viral factors are herpes virus, enterovirus, pneumococcus, and tuberculosis, etc. The tuberculosis is of bacterial nature. And with respect to the bacterial infection, which is a major cause of this acute encephalitis syndrome, or scrub typhus, which is considered to be the most common in nature in present times, and leptospiro. And the parasitic infections which cause the acute encephalitis syndrome is the malarial infection, non-infectious causative organism or the nature which leads to the acute encephalitis syndrome, or heat strokes, toxins, etc. also. And with respect to the government initiatives taken for the reduction of this acute encephalitis syndrome, or National Program for Prevention and Control of Japanese Encephalitis in the year of 2014, and the wide range of surveillance and vaccination programs for especially for the Japanese encephalitis, and early diagnostics, safe water provision, and sanitation among the society, all the government initiatives, other government initiatives. And the Japanese encephalitis vaccination under the universal immunization program is also a government initiative with respect to the controlling or the elimination of this acute encephalitis syndrome. And what is scrub typhus, which is the most common feature or the most common factor for the occurrence of this acute encephalitis syndrome, is that it is a type of febrile illness. This febrile illness is caused because of the fever like symptoms, and it is caused by the Orantia tsutsugamushi or rickettsial bacteria. And we can also expect UPSC prelims question from this point of view, that in prelims they may ask like Orantia tsutsugamushi is recently seen in news with respect to, like they may ask 4 statements. So we have to note that bacterial name also. And the causative of this scrub typhus transmission of this bacterial infection is the bite of larval mite called chiggers, and it is endemic to this bacterial infection or the transmission of this scrub typhus acute encephalitis syndrome is endemic to Asia and Pacific regions, which includes India. And the vector of this disease is chiggers. The main reservoir of this chiggers is of wild rodents. As we discussed earlier, the symptoms of this scrub typhus encephalitis is fever, headache, scars, organ failure if untreated, which lead to fatality. What are all the treatments and the features of this scrub typhus and acute encephalitis virus is that it can be somewhat treated with the doxycycline and or azithromycin, but there is no effective vaccines available, unlike Japanese encephalitis virus, and it got occurred only on the post monsoon season and in rural areas also. Under WHO, it got listed as the neglected tropical disease. Moving to the prelims practice question, consider the following statement about scrub typhus bacteria. It is caused by virus and transmitted by sandflies, which is an incorrect statement because it is caused by bacterial infection and transferred by chiggers, not sandflies. So the first statement is incorrect. So we can eliminate option A, C and D, and we can easily arrive at the answer, but we have to look into the second and third statement. It is a major cause of acute encephalitis syndrome in some parts of India, which is correct. And there is no effective vaccine for scrub typhus, which is also correct. So the answer is B, 2 and 3 only. With this, we move to the next section. This article deals with the recent Supreme Court ruling on the scheduled tribe woman also has the equal inheritance of property and the right to have the claim over the inheritance of the property. In this ruling, that the legal heir of any scheduled tribe woman also has the entitlement or the inheritance to the equal share of ancestral property, even it is a maternal property. And in the Indian context, we have many succession acts or the property inheritance act evolved from time to time. And in the year 1956, the first Hindu succession act was enacted. It was applied to the Hindus, Sikhs, Jains and Buddhists exclusively, and which also excludes the scheduled tribe communities from this Hindu Succession Act. And in the year of 2005, this Hindu Succession Act got its amendment, which grants the equal co-personary rights to the daughters of the joint Hindu family property. And in the year of 2015 to 20 got various Supreme Court and High Court rulings which made the clarification and the retrospective effect given to the 2005 amendment, which upholds the daughter's right even if the father has died before the year of 2005, and it got the retrospective effect from before 2005. In the year of 2025, in the recent judgment by the Supreme Court, the scheduled tribe woman also has the right to inherit the property from the ancestors, and which got the gender equality, which extended the gender equality in the inheritance of tribal property or the tribal context, emphasizing the constitutional principle over the customary practices or customary exclusion of scheduled tribe women from the inheritance of property. And with respect to the Indian context, various Indian communities or religious communities has been governed by various constitutional acts or acts of inheritance, and the Hindus, Sikhs, Jains and Buddhists are governed by the Hindu Succession Act with equal rights to daughters among the inheritance of property after post 2005, and Muslims are governed by the personal customary laws called Shariat, and Christians and Parsis are governed by the Indian Succession Act of 1925, and the scheduled tribes was not covered under the Hindu Succession Act by default, but however they are governed by the constitutional equality under Article 15, 38 and 46. And the recent judgment by the Supreme Court has override the customary discrimination practice over inheritance of scheduled tribe ancestral property. In this judgment, the Supreme Court overrides the exclusion of the inheritance by gender discrimination of scheduled tribe women from acquiring or inheriting a property. And with respect to the tribal customary laws, it also still applied to some extent, but it does not have to violate the fundamental rights, especially on the gender discrimination discussed under the Article 15, 38 and 46. Moving to the prelims practice question, with reference to the Supreme Court's recent ruling on inheritance rights, consider the following statement: scheduled tribes First statement, scheduled tribes are automatically governed by the Hindu Succession Act of 1956, and this statement is incorrect. And the second statement, the Supreme Court upheld that exclusion of women from succession violates Article 15 of 1 subclass 1 of the Constitution. It is correct because it is the exact term that quoted in the recent ruling by the Supreme Court. And the third statement, the Constitution empowers the state to promote the interest of weaker sections, including scheduled tribes and women, which is also correct. By eliminating the first statement from the option, we can easily arrive at the answer that A is the correct answer, 2 and 3 only. Moving to the next topic. This article elaborately discusses the China's as a leader in the global green energy sector, or they attain the green energy needs well ahead of time. What is green energy? It refers to the energy derived from the renewable energy source and non-polluting source such as solar energy, wind energy, hydro energy, and bioenergy, etc. And it also, the green energy also plays a pivotal role in mitigating the climate change activities and climate resilient activities, and it also ensures the energy security of a nation, and also it helps to meet out the Sustainable Development Goal 7, that is affordable and clean energy provision, and the Sustainable Development Goal of 13, which is a climate action. And according to the global current census, the renewable energy source accounted for 30% of global electricity generation in the year of 2022, according to the International Energy Agency's report. And in this 30% of global electricity production, China dominates its production. China dominates in this sector by producing 80% of solar cell production and 66% of global clean energy investment in the year of 2024. And apart from this, China, other players like European Union and USA also pushing towards the green industrial policies like EU Green Deal and US Inflation Reduction Act. And what made the China peculiar or distinguishing from the or as a leader or pioneer in the green energy sector is that they got the massive renewable energy expansion, or they focus more on the green energy sectors and from across the nation. And they also made a groundbreaking investments on the green energy sector for more green energy production, and they also maintain an efficient and effective supply chain mechanism along with the dominance of the technology introduction. And also the strategic infrastructure push towards the green energy sector made stimulus to this attainment of this well ahead of time. And the data-driven economy through the emerging emission trends, by monitoring the emerging emission trends also helps the China to be a leader in the green energy sector. They also has the very comprehensive and cohesive economic and geopolitical strategy with respect to the green energy sector, which made them more pioneer in this green energy sector. What made it more prominent, or what matters now, is that the China has surpassed its renewable energy goals well ahead of time, that is years ago. It was driven by the unmatched investment that they made on the green energy sector, as well as the industrial scale of this production of green energy activities also got increased along with the policy coordination in the nation. It has reshaped the global green energy market across the globe, but the China's continued reliance on coal raises question about the true climate gains by the nation. And with respect to India's capacity, the total installed renewable energy capacity in India is around 180 gigawatts according to 2025 data, and the target was set around 500 gigawatts by the year of 2030, which was pledged in the COP26. And in this 180 gigawatts of renewable energy capacity, it was contributed by solar around 81 gigawatts and wind around 46 gigawatts and hydroelectricity around 47 gigawatts. The green hydrogen mission, which was aimed to produce 5 metric tons of green hydrogen energy by the year of 2030, and the energy transition spending got also increased in the year of 2024 around 16.5 billion Indian rupees. And with respect to the importance of green energy sector in India, or the it got the energy security to the nation by reducing the import dependence of crude oil as well as the coal dependence of India. Specifically, India imports around 85% of crude oil from other nations, and the dependency and also helps to mitigate the climate goals, which was net zero by India around 2070, and the 50% of energy to be produced from non-fossil source by the year of 2030. And it also stimulates or helps the economic growth, as green energy sector is a job creation sector and boosts the manufacturing sector through production linked incentives on areas like solar cells production as well as renewable batteries production. And it also helps the India to mitigate or to strike a balance between the geopolitical shocks, like vulnerability happened in the oil exporting nations to India will create a shock in India. What are all the challenges that the India faces for the attainment of this green energy sector to the optimum level? Is that the first is the infrastructure gap. We have to reduce or plug in the infrastructure gap, and we have to create an adequate finance for the projects that we are undertaken, and that production also needs a land acquisition which needs to be done in a proper manner, and we have to develop the technology, or to we are more dependent on the technology, so we have to improve that. And as I said earlier, we are more dependent on coal imports and crude oil imports, so we have to strike a balance on import of this coal or crude oil. On what are all the challenge opportunities that are ahead of India or before India, is that the domestic manufacturing can be boosted up, and it also has the possibility of creating a green hydrogen hub, and India can also be the pioneer or global leadership attainment of global leadership in the global level, and we can open the global carbon market for trading the emission trades. With this, we can assume, or we can arrive at the way forward for this section, that is, we have to create a grid-like modernization pattern for integrating the green energy sector into the economy, as well as we have to create a stable policy for holding back the green energy sector, as well as we need technology. For that, we need research and development investment, and also the skill development activities, which creates a circular economy, which is production, consumption, and it got circulated in the economy. Moving to the mains practice question, how has China's scale, state support and supply chain control enabled it to dominate global green energy manufacturing? The author of this article opened or expressed the opinion that the question, however, is still a few tools that are available for making the government accountable in certain matters. And how come the Parliament or the question, however, is useful for making government accountable, is that the Constitution of India is the bedrock of India's democratic framework, and the primary function of this question, however, is to hold the executive more accountable in nature, and the key mechanism used for the making them more accountable is that using the tools like debates, motions, committee reports, etc. And also the question, however, also plays a major role for making the executive more accountable, as the question has been raised against the ministers in the parliament. This is the most immediate and regular mechanism for making them accountable, as every session of the parliament or every day of the parliament, the first initial hour has been allocated to the question hour as pinpointed to the ministers. And the current construct or the what makes the article more relevant is that the declining trend of making admission to the opposition proposed debates in the parliament has been declined in the recent trend, making the question hour more crucial. And what is question hour? As I told earlier, the first hour of every sitting day, that is every session of the every day of the parliament, begins with the question hour in both Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, and the question has been raised against the minister as well as the private member of the parliament. And the purpose of the question hour is to obtain information about the government policies, schemes and other administrative mechanisms, and to scrutinize the implementation gaps that are left behind by the government, ruling government, as well as to expose the governance deficit in certain areas, to bring back data into the public domain as the discussion was made public, and evidence-based discussion as the parliamentary discussions are made to be public. And what are all the types of questions that has to be raised during the question hour can be categorized into three categories. The first is the starred question, in which the member has to raise the oral answer, the member has to provide an oral answer for the starred question that is to be raised against the minister or as a private member, and there is room for supplementary questions as the answers are of oral in nature. And the second type is the unstarred question, in which the member the question raised against the minister or the private member has to answer in writing, and there is no room for supplementary questions. And the third category is the short notice question, which is of raised on urgent important matters, and it is of short notice in nature within 10 days. And how come the question hour is significant for a democracy is that it is a tool for ensuring a transparency and accountability and pinning the accountability in the ruling government, and it reveals the gaps in flagship schemes often being buried by the bureaucracy by the present government or the ruling government. And it also make the evidence over the policy reforms. It enables the ministers or MPs or members of parliament, researchers and civil societies to demand a course correction by plugging the gap in the governance mechanism. And it also has created a check and balance on the executive interruptions or the executive arrogance over a certain policy or project. And what are all the challenges that questions the question hours effectiveness is that the curtailment of discussion time, that is that is the major core of this article that we discuss, that in recent times the frequent disruptions, adjournments and suspensions of opposition parties organized debates or the rejection of the proposed debate has been in recent time got the challenges before the question major challenge of this question hour. And replies or the response provided by the ministers are sometimes being minimalistic in nature and not up to the mark, or it is of divisive in nature. And the declining in the opposition tools are like refusal to admit discussions during underlining various rules weakens the parliamentary scrutiny over a certain bill or policy. What are the way forwards that are to be taken to ensure the tool of question hour a most effective one is that to strengthen the parliamentary procedures to ensure adequate room or time for the question hour and prevent adjournments in the intermittent manner, and to admit more opposition motions like using various tools to restore balance in agenda settings and follow up on answers, like standing committees and members of parliament should use the data obtained from the question hour for their further scrutiny, and to it also encourages the transparency to make them more accountable. This minister has to provide a comprehensive data and not to provide a evasive or divisive replies. Moving to the mains practice question, the question hour is one of the few tools still available to hold the government accountable. Analyze in the context of recent parliamentary trends and data revealed through discussion in the budget session 2025. In this section of video, we are going to know about the recent discovery of circular polarization from the new or young Protostar by the team of Indian Institute of Space Science and Technology. And this discovery was happened in the young Protostar, which was named like IRAS 18162-2048, and it is an young Protostar about 4,500 light years away from the Earth. And the recent discovery also published in the Astrophysical Journal letters. And about this discovery, the Protostar which was observed, the circular polarization is that from the IRAS 18162-2048, and it is a massive protostar in the Milky Way galaxy, and the distance from the Earth is around 4,500 light years from the Earth. The instrument used for the observation of this circular polarization using Carl G. Jansky Very Large Array from the USA, and the phenomenon which was discovered or detected using this large scale array or very large array is that circular polarization of radio waves. This circular polarization occurs when two vectors, that is electric and magnetic vectors, goes in the direction indicating magnetic fields. And what are all the key concepts involved in this discovery? Or the first thing is the protostar, that is we have discovered in this young protostar. The protostar is a early stage of star, that is a star in making, we can tell it in literal terms, which accelerates or which accumulates the gaseous and dust particles around it. And this protostar can evolve to a massive protostar which is up to the mass of more than 8 to 10 times of the sun. And the second concept involved in this discovery is that protostellar jets, which is also known as bipolar jets, which is a high velocity ejections done through this protostar, which ejects the high velocity objects in the opposite direction. And the third concept we are going to know is the circular polarization, which involves two vectors, that is electric and magnetic field of vectors, that rotates in a circle motion as wave propagates. But usually this circular polarization happens in the electromagnetic waves, but in this discovery it got only in the radio waves. And what is the relevance for this discovery with respect to India is that it showcases the India's growing contribution to the astronomical science and the frontline astronomical discoveries through the Indian Institute of Space Science and Technology. And it also highlights the expertise of India in the field of radio astronomy and collaboration with the global observatories like in the US that we have discussed earlier. Moving to the prelims practice question, consider the following statement about protostars. A protostar is an early stage of star still accumulating materials is correct because it accumulates gaseous and other dust particles around it in the evolution stage or the early stage. And the second statement, massive protostars typically evolve to around 8 to 10 times more than the sun's mass, which is also correct. And the third statement, protostellar, that is the I told earlier that protostellar jets or bipolar jets are believed to be driven by magnetic fields and rotations, which is also correct. So the from this option we can easily arrive at the answer that all the three statements are correct, and D is the correct answer. With this, we come to the end of the video. Please like, comment and share the video to your friends, and please subscribe to the Shankar IAS Academy YouTube channel.